yes, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome again to a live broadcast of the story behind the story. Those of you that may have been fooled a little bit, last week was a recorded program. Yeah, I apologize, folks. I did my best. I knew I was going to be gone. I had a prior engagement at a conference of light therapy. Yeah, light therapy, folks. I've been doing a lot of research on this topic, thanks in no small measure to my late great Uncle John Ott, the founder of the product called OTT Lights. Yeah, well, that's where my family line comes from, folks. We're just we're trying to explore the unknown, and tell you what, the spectrum of light is an amazing. Oh my goodness, is it an amazing, exciting field of study. I'm going to share with you tonight, by request, what I talked about on the conference. I spoke for just over a little hour and 15 minutes. I didn't really get much. I got about 3/4 of the way through my PowerPoint presentation. I ran out of time, had to sign off, and I was greeted with a standing ovation. It was well received. I believe this topic will be well received by the listeners of this station. I hope so. Anyway, this is the intent of the show tonight. And like I did at the show there, I wrote out my intent before I did the presentation, and my intent was met. I mean, 100% met. So, folks, before we get into the content of tonight's show, again, I just need to remind you that this radio station is completely and solely ran by your donations. That's it. No corporate sponsorship, no interruptions for corporate advertising. That's so refreshing. I'll tell you, I've been a radio talk show host now for going on 20 years. Yeah, time flies. I tell you, the story behind the story started out before internet radio was even thought of, before the internet was really much at all, and when we're still exploring the possibilities of email as being kind of like, what is that? Yeah, that's how long I've been doing radio shows, ladies and gentlemen. I started out on a live program where I was the switchboard operator. I did about everything, including fielding calls and et cetera, and we received tremendous reviews. We did. My co-producer and myself, my co-director, and I both received 2 Peabody Award nominations. I just got to tell you that. It's just neither here nor there, just a fact. Our content was unique. The whole story behind the story is the story you see that the mainstream media so often ignores. And believe you me, the subject of light therapy, the subject of tonight's discussion, has got to be one of the top 3 or 4 subjects that's been overlooked, because I'm telling you, there is a plethora, an absolute mass of studies done on the subject since the 60s, not the least of which is Dr. John Ott, and what he began really became an avalanche of studies, first by people trying to disprove what he said, and secondly, by breakthroughs in the healing arts of light. Now, the corporation, the company that sponsored this convention and asked me to present, the company's name is Elan, E-L-A-N. Elan. Elan is an acronym that simply stands for energetic living achieved naturally. Energetic living achieved naturally. Well, their research, you see, led them to develop a really superior form of light therapy that goes directly onto the skin. It incorporates 3 kinds of lights, folks. A very intense blue light, and these are diode lights. These are are very, very bright. They applied right to the skin. There's a red series of lights, and then there is also a near infrared set of diodes that light up. Of course, you can't see. What's neat about these lights, you look at the pads that have red and infrared lights going on, you think, well, half of these aren't working. Well, you can't see them, you see, because near infrared is invisible to the human eye discernment. The human eye and the human brain, you see, can't pick up the high level frequency of near infrared. Neither can it pick up the color of ultraviolet. It's really, ultraviolet means deep, deep violet. So much violet you can't see it. It becomes invisible. And same with near infrared. But guess what? You look through camera lenses, certain camera lenses, I must say, many camera lenses, you can discern the infrared lights. It's kind of cool to look through a camera lens that I have and see the lights. I see the light. There you go. Amazing, amazing testimonials of healing were presented at this conference. I listened to many. My job, you see, is not to present testimonials. I listened to them. I thought they were fascinating. But you see, my job here tonight is to tell you why they heal. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you up front that I believe so strongly in this product that I highly recommend the purchase of this unit for one simple reason. One simple reason, and that is this. It is simply, in my opinion, the single most important appliance you could own if you want to maintain you and your family's health. I know that's a broad statement, and please understand, I am not here to diagnose disease. I am not here to prescribe a cure. I am just here to explain science tonight, and hopefully do it in a way that's not going to be too, shall we say, technical. It's going to hopefully will be easy to understand. That's what I tried to achieve in my presentation there. I'm not talking on this radio show to a bunch of nuclear physicists, though I have verified my numbers with physicists, I should say, rocket scientists, at the University of Utah astrophysicist lab. This is the same laboratory that produced Professors Pons and Fleischmann with cold fusion. Yeah. By the way, story behind the story with Pons and Fleischmann. If you don't remember that story, they made a sensation worldwide by announcing, the university announced, and it made headlines across the world. Scientists at the University of Utah have harnessed and developed cold fusion. You don't know what cold fusion is? Let me tell you. It's light in action, folks. It's energy. It's E equals mc squared without having hot fusion as in a nuclear reactor. It's cold. It's reacting with water. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, water. Oh, yeah, water. That amazing, amazing substance. Without water on this planet, we have no life. Without light on this planet, this rock, from the sun, we have no life. And folks, I'm going to talk to you very straight tonight. I'm going to talk to you very frank. There are people that might misinterpret my message tonight as being religious in nature. It's not, folks. It's just plain fact. I don't care whether you're religious or atheist. I don't care whether you're secular and a believer in evolution. I don't care, folks. Whether you're a believer in Darwinism and evolution as a secular humanist, or whether you're a religious professor, I got to tell you this. Both sides have to agree on this one point. Without light on this planet, there is no life. If you believe, and I must say that you have to believe whatever you want to believe, you're free to. I believe it's erroneous in the extreme to say that human beings and the incredible intricacy of the human cellular functions all came and evolved naturally by a series of events out of pond scum. I'm telling you, fine, you want to believe that, but the bottom line is you got to also have light, photosynthesis, the process. They even use that process to explain the evolution. So you've got to understand light equals life. All right? Is that fair enough? All right, so let me get that out of the way. Let's go on. I'm just going to, I posted, thanks to Sean. Sean does a great job as usual. Hats off to my producer, Sean. Golly, you know, the PowerPoint presentation I gave, it's great to have slides and visual aids. A picture's worth the proverbial 1,000 words, right? So he did post on the chat room my PowerPoint, which you can access through my blog, atruot.com. So if you're interested in following along with this discussion today and hopefully have meaningful graphics that'll help you to understand what I'm explaining here, please go to the chat room there at revolutionradio.com and click on that link to my blog. I'll give you just a few seconds to do so. And once you're there, you can just follow along. The presentation is simply entitled Light Therapy, Minerals, and Music. Exploring the spectrum. The spectrum of what? The spectrum of light. The first slide there shows a picture that I just love. It's up at the high mountains of the Rockies, actually part of the Rocky Mountain Range by Wyoming, Wind River area, in fairly early spring. Well, I should say not early spring, early summer, June. This small alpine lake with the snow still there drifting, and the light shining inside of a tent as the sun sets. Okay, neat picture. What exactly is light? Let's stop and think for a little bit. Let's put our thinking caps on. We take light for granted, just like we take water for granted on this planet. We don't stop and think about what light really truly is. Let's take a look at it. And yes, I quote simply the most popular book ever written or ever published and probably ever will be published. I'm talking about the King James Bible, ladies and gentlemen. Whether you believe it or not, whether you like it or not, the fact is the King James Bible has sold well over 1 billion. Yeah, that's 1 billion copies. Oh my goodness. The New York Times bestseller list, and ain't nothing compared to this book. Why? Stop to think why. Well, I submit to you because it has some incredibly important truths in its pages. You just have to deeply study it. People just seem to take that for granted too, I submit. That's nothing. It's just a bunch of myths. It's a book of, dust-covered book of myths. No. There's a deeply embedded numerical code structure in that pages of that book, ladies and gentlemen. Believe me, I don't have the time or wherewithal to teach, but I could teach weeks on this subject. Absolute weeks on the incredible symmetries of the numbers, what's called gematria numbers of the Bible text. See, let me just tell you, the Hebrew, the early form of Hebrew called the Paleo-Hebrew especially, has historically had a specific number value. Yes, numbers, digits from people counting on their fingers, right? 1 through 10. 1 through 10, right? Before language even became written, the communication was done via numbers. I submit to you folks that numbers are the universal language. I don't care whether you're Chinese, Japanese, Arabic, European, whatever country you're from. Folks, the number 9 means the same to you as it does to people living on the continent of China. It's the same number. It means the same thing. You write the number down. an address or phone number, it's the same. They know it. You're going to call somebody in China or Hong Kong or wherever, the numbers are there. It's universal. It goes through codes. Numbers. We all have addresses. You see, we all have social security numbers, so at least some people do. Numbers, identification numbers. And the same is true with the early texts. So in reality, you see the original Hebrew text of the Old Testament, it has a corresponding numeric value that's very, very symbolic and very, very important. Now, the New Testament section, written in Greek, Greek is the same. Greek has another corresponding number value. Each letter in the Greek and the Hebrew alphabet have a historically valid number value. So keep that in mind as we go through this. So when you read the English text, and let's say whatever version of the Bible you might have, a King James version or whatever, you have to go deeper. I submit you, if you look at the value of the numbers, it can tell another story. It's a deeply expanding height, breadth, and depth of meaning. It absolutely is exciting when you get there. Oh, I know people say, I don't care. It's too much trouble. I don't want to think about it. Well, fine. You don't have to. I'm going to explain it to you. I'm going to do it for you. I've done the homework. I've done the research. Believe me, it's exciting. It is absolutely stunning because it leaves people without excuse when you understand how it meshes. Genesis chapter 1, the very first book of this text, very first chapter, the third verse is simple. And God said, let there be light, and there was light, and God saw the light, that it was good. This is the first thing that comes out of the chaos of organized matter, ladies and gentlemen, is light. Light is formed first, and absolutely that's true, because without light, nothing comes together. Absolutely nothing. Again, I've talked to my secular humanist friends, and I respect that we have a difference of opinion, and we agree to disagree without hostility, without getting angry. I smile and chuckle, I admit, and they smile and chuckle at me. But you see, we agree to disagree. We agree to be respectful. And my secular humanist scientist friends all tell me, you're right. Light is got to be the beginning of everything. The so-called Big Bang theory. Bang, bang, boom. But light is the genesis. Light is the beginning. So, and that's in this context of science and or religion, we both agree. Light has to begin the process, and it does. So what is light that we see? If we define light in the visible spectrum, folks, there's nine parts of the visible spectrum. 9 parts. Let me go through them on the slide with you. We got infrared light, which we've talked a little bit about. We've got red light. We go down the so-called spectrum or the rainbow of light refraction. Okay, we see orange light, then we see green light. Right pretty much in the middle of the rainbow, the spectrum, we see yellow light, which it's quite a variable wavelength. Now, yellow, then light blue, then violet, then again it goes to invisible on the ultraviolet light scale. Now here's a simple understanding you need that everything in energy, everything that we're talking about here as far as light and color itself, as picked up by the eye, the eye cones that send messages to the brain, we're talking about a wavelength. And what is a wavelength? A wavelength is a measurement of a wave. It's simple. It's what the word says. What is a wave? Well, you know what a wave is. If you've been to the ocean, right? The ocean waves come in regular as clockwork, don't they? They're very rhythmic, and it's very relaxing to lay on the seashore and listen to the waves roll up and waves, some bigger, some less, but they're waves. the same thing is true with light. They are energy patterns that oscillate just like the waves of an ocean. The wavelengths, however, are measured in what's called nanometers. That stands for NM, nanometers. Okay. Well, that's another way of just saying it's a high level of Hertz vibration. Now, Hertz is named after a scientist by the last name of Hertz, who validated and verified the sound waves that our ears pick up. See, is a wave pattern. Are you with me? Our ears pick up wave patterns. Our eyes pick up wave patterns in colors and discernible light. Now, the absence of light is simply called darkness. Duh. Have you ever been inside of a deep cave? I mean, it's fun to go to like places here. Lehman Caves is part of a Great Basin National Park. I like to go there. I mean, they'll take you into the cave structure, take you down about 400 or 500 yards, right? And the tour guide will invariably say, have you ever experienced, total darkness? Total darkness is the absence of all light. Total darkness is so incredibly pervasive that even, night vision goggles don't work there. You want to see darkness, go into a deep dark cave and turn out all visible light, right? And my goodness, it's amazing how dark it is. So darkness is the absence of these visible wavelengths we call light. Now, the spectrum is best illustrated by my graphic there on the PowerPoint. The spectrum of visible light shows ultraviolet at the top, infrared at the bottom. It could be up or down, go from red to blue, blue to red. But really, that pretty much shows you the spectrum. Here's what you need to understand when I talk about Elon Lights. The company that produces these lights, Elon, again, is energetic living achieved naturally. You can measure these lights as I've done. There's an oscilloscope that can measure the nanometers. It actually puts it out in very high numbers of hertz, but it equates to nanometers. Blue light measures 462 nanometers, which just happens to be 432 hertz multiplied by 2, 43 times, raised to the 43 octaves. Red is 693 nanometers, which is 256 hertz, raised 43 octaves. And near infrared, 730 nanometers, 243 hertz. Now, one of the reasons why you hear me talking about the importance of 432 hertz music is because of my discovery with these lights, ladies and gentlemen. It's all interrelated. I wanted to share this with the listening audience for a minute, but I had to prepare it and get it and see what type of response I get from the general public on this. It was, I got to tell you, a home run. So let me just tell you, another way to look at blue light is concert A, 432 hertz. Red, concert C, yeah. Infrared is the B note. Oh, it's exciting stuff, folks. And not only that, but you see the other the other 7 visible light colors of the rainbow, because infrared and ultraviolet are invisible. Guess what? Shazam. Gomer says Shazam, because it all matches the scale only, and I repeat and emphasize only, when concert A is tuned to 432 hertz. I don't know about you folks, but I'm excited about this. Now, they're at the conference, and I can't do this without, and just on radio, you'll have to take my word for it. I presented to them my calculations on this. And if you want to calculate it out yourself, if you want to take some time and crunch some numbers, you need a really nice, powerful calculator, a trig calculator, okay? Because you've got some big numbers going on. But I'll basically show you the formula. This formula was given to me and verified by physicists at my University of Utah. Okay, let's get going. Nanometers, this is technicalities formulation. Those of you that are listening that just might want to just crunch some numbers yourself, you have nothing better to do. Here we go. Nanometer is nm, right? Well, what is the definition of a nanometer? Well, let's define that. Simply 1/billionth of a meter. Remember, we're not on the metric system here in America. We still go by yards and feet, but a meter, you see, is the measurement internationally. So a nanometer is 1/billionth of a measurement of a meter. Pretty tiny, isn't it? 1/billionth of a meter. Well, what is a wavelength then of light? How do you calculate a wavelength of light? Here's the formula. The nanometer measurement multiplied by 10 to the -9 power. Folks, that's count the zeros. You go ahead and count them. I won't count them for you. It's a lot. It's a big small number. It's such a small number, it's pretty dang big with zeros. So what is Hertz? How do you measure Hertz, folks? Again, this is physics. You divide C by the wavelength number. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, Dr. Rod, you're losing me here. That's too complicated. This is boring stuff. No, bear with me, folks. You got to understand, because this is going to make sense to you, I promise you. What is C? Well, C is the speed of light. C is the speed of light divided by the wavelength. Remember Einstein's relativity? Now, physicists now pretty much agree it's not a theory of relativity. It's relativity. It's been pretty much proven, right? Energy, E, equals m, which is mass, times C, speed of light, and you take that number and square it. That's E equals mc squared. That's what it means. Relativity. E, energy, mass, or atomic weight, right, times C, the speed of light, squared. Now, interestingly, folks, what is speed of light? Light, we define light as a wavelength. Whoa, this light travels fast. I mean, it's Speedy Gonzales, man. Holy cow. 299 million plus meters per second. Here's another little neat way to tell. You want to go into another measurement. Just simply square 432. Takes 432 times 432, and there's your number, miles per second. Is that coincidence? I don't think so. Now when you look at all the other things I'm going to talk about tonight, it's not coincidence. Okay? I tell my secular friends, coincidences, my friends, is simply God wishing to remain anonymous. And they get a kick out of that. You're incorrigible, Dr. Odd. You're incorrigible. You'll never get published with that attitude. Well, I don't care about getting published anymore. Look at the next slide, folks. Now, those of you that have heard me talk about 432 hertz tuning, and I appreciate the emails I've received on both my blog posts and emails to me personally. I appreciate that you have an opinion that it doesn't matter. I appreciate those people that have emailed me and say, "Oh, Dr. Rod, you're really splitting hairs. Going from 432 hertz to 440, it's just music. It doesn't matter." I beg to differ with you. It matters extremely much. I mean, you consider that the Earth itself has a hertz frequency generation called the Schumann resonance. The Schumann resonance pegs the Earth's vibration just a shade below 8 hertz, 7.93 to 7.98. I mean, that's pretty darn close to 8 hertz. So if you raise frequency by the Earth's frequency of 8 hertz, just go above that threshold, it matters a great deal. Ladies and gentlemen, what does it matter? It being your health, your emotional health, your emotional well-being, and your cellular health. Because, folks, energy equals mass times speed of light squared. Think about it. Stop and think about it. Your cells have have nuclei. You go deep and deep enough into the cellular structure, past the mitochondria layer. Get into the very base nucleus of every one of your 70 plus trillion cells. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you find? You find energy. You find light at your cellular level. You don't think it matters? You don't think music matters? You better wake up. It matters a great deal. Look at the scientific musical tuning. This is not my table, ladies and gentlemen. This was brought forth many, many years ago by a mathematician by the name of Pythagoras. This is called a Pythagorean skein. It's a simple thing. It's basically showing a ratio of 3 to 2. Now, how is this best defined? By numbers, by what we call, shall we say, gematria. Simple. You take the numbers of multiples of 3 across the top, and you take the diatonic, or the numbers multiplied by 2 down the bottom, and you have the table. Neat little table. 1 times 3 is 3, 3 times 3 is 9, 9 times 3, 27, 27 times 3, 81, etc., etc., till we get to the 7th value, or 729. 243, you see, is the infrared, 243 being the B note. Down in the middle at 432 hertz, which is right dead center in the center, you got the blue light. And we're talking about the purest blue, the bluest of the blue now. And at the bottom we have 256, which is the red color. Now, again, what I told you at the beginning, I'm here to tell you, and I'm here to tell the good folks who believe in the Elon lights, I'm here to tell you why you hear these testimonials. Why you hear, yes, ladies and gentlemen, of certain cancers being reversed. Why you hear of heart disease being reversed. Why you hear of diabetic retinopathy and other so-called incurable things reversed with these lights is because of this scale right here. You see, the infrared is at the top. It matches the top frequency. The blue is in the dead set heart. The red's in the other bottom, and everything in between that it pulses. It balances the cell in amazing ways. I'm talking about, folks, at my count, 60,000 studies on lights. 60,000, not including the series of studies done in the year 1990 and 8 by 2 scientists who won the Nobel Prize over their research in light therapy. And you don't hear about it. You don't see this on the news. You don't hear it talked about too much in internet circles, and I think that's criminal. It's ignorance, perhaps, but people, what you don't know can kill you. What you don't know can make you sick. And I submit my job on the story behind the story more than anything else. Yeah, we can talk about all the bad things happening. You know, the news is full of garbage. We can talk about the politics of the GOP, which is just meaningless fluff, really, because nothing's going to change. But I submit the most important thing that a radio talk show host can do is teach you how to protect the most valuable asset that you have. It's not your right to vote, ladies and gentlemen. That may be important to you. It's not your house. It's not your Maserati car or your Volkswagen Beetle. It's your health. Because if your health is gone, ladies and gentlemen, you really are bankrupt. I know of people that would pay all that they own, and their wealth and their bank accounts have been emptied to get their health back. Go to the doctor. Oh, you've got cancer, Mr. Jones. You've got maybe 6 months to live. Do you think Jimmy Carter would trade all of his revenues that he could possibly have for speaking engagements and everything else, for the chance to live 10 more years health-free after being diagnosed with cancer throughout his body? Of course. Folks, it's the most valuable asset that you own. Your health is your wealth. Now, the next slide. The music harmony of numbers was credited to, again, like I said, Pythagoras. It's called the so-called perfect fifth tuning because of the 3-to-2 ratio called the matrix of numbers. Again, as I said, the perfect fifth tuning matches the Hertz wavelengths of the colored light spectrum perfectly so. The next slide shows it. Okay, you've got violet light, which is, you take 432 hertz divided by the ratios of the scale, 9 divided by 8, and the number 486 shows up in the spectrum, absolutely. Ultraviolet light is 729 hertz on the very top of the Pythagorean scale. Blue, like I said before, is concert A at 432. Light blue, that beautiful cyan color, is the G note, ladies and gentlemen, the 384 hertz. Now, the anomaly here, the thing that's kind of the free radical that kind of breaks the rules is yellow light. Yellow has no set measurable frequency. You try to get a nanometer setting on pure yellow light, and it bounces around like a Mexican jumping bean. It has no measurable thing according to my lab folks. Yet, if they were to fill out the spectrum, it would have to be the enigmatic key or note of F on the musical scale at 342. Green is 324, orange 288, red 256, infrared, which is again the first note of B, the lowest octave is 243. Is that just coincidence? No. Coincidence is, again, God just remaining anonymous. But see, somebody had to make this pattern. It just didn't randomly happen. The book of Genesis says God made the light and saw that it was good. It had to begin somewhere. Folks, that's the egg that made the chicken, okay? That's the light. See, light is the genesis of all cellular activity, whether it's a chicken egg or a chicken hawk or porky pig, okay? It is the basis of all life. Now, closely related to that 3-to-2 Pythagorean scheme, the 1-to-5 ratio. Oh, and by the way, let me just say that Pythagoras put out a measurement that it's become quite famous and misused as man as the measure of all things. Well, what's been misused is, see, it's not, here's the ratio, and I went out and randomly asked, some people in my place of my business. I said, I had a tape measure. Let me measure you. And yeah, whether you're short or tall, I'm 6'7", I'm relatively tall. Whether you're short, 5 foot nothing, or 6'9", the ratios are the same. You take the measurement from your navel to the middle of your forehead, which is roughly your third eye region, your pineal gland, right? From that point, which is what Pythagoras says is the seat of all understanding of light and learning, and take the ratio, that measurement, and then measure your navel to your toes, and you'll find that it's pretty doggone right on the 3-to-2 ratio, the 1.5. It's amazing. So man is the measure of all things, to the Pythagoras says. But how about the so-called golden ratio by Fibonacci? Now, Fibonacci is, again, a deep thinker. He called it, and many philosophers through the ages have called the Fibonacci golden ratio, so-called, the number 1.618, the golden ratio. They call it the fingerprint of God. Why? Oh, because if you really start to look at architecture, you start to look at building blocks of all life and all of nature, and you see this ratio, it becomes very, very apparent. From anything from seashells to the cosmos, the macro scale of the universe, and the micro scale inside your cell, the very DNA helix is built on that golden ratio, folks. So what is a golden ratio? Well, it's simply you take the numbers, take the number chain, 1 starting with 0 and 1, add them together. 0 plus 1 equals 1. 1 plus 1 equals 2. 1 plus 2 equals 3. 2 plus 3, etc. Now, you do exactly 12 sequence. Now keep in mind, there's a number sequence that's important as it reaches perfection and infinity. Okay, and that number sequence is 12. There's a ratio of 12 to 3 to 1, and I don't have a way to graphically show that to you, but believe me, it's there. When you have 12 sequences, the 12th sequence, the number 144 appears. And after that point, the ratio, when you keep adding the numbers, the ratio as you crunch your numbers on your expensive calculator, you'll see that it absolutely stays the same from there to infinity. 144 is the key to open that Fibonacci spiral up into an infinity of numbers. Now, why is that important? Well, there's something called a sympathetic harmony of sound. 144 hertz will activate. 144 hertz will activate that Fibonacci sequence in the human cell DNA. 144. What is 144? Glad you asked that question, ladies and gentlemen. 144. Oh, if those of you that know the Bible, 144 is a very, very powerful number. 144,000 individuals who will sing a new song and open up incredible energies of light. Now, 144 in the gematria of the Hebrew letters, if you take the English word light and the Hebrew equivalent for the word light, each Hebrew letter has number value. You want to take a pencil and write this down, and go ahead and check it if you like. The Hebrew letters for light, there's actually, where there's 5, the Hebrew equivalents, the number value is 20, 9, 7, the G equivalent is 7, the H equivalent is 8, and T equivalent in the Hebrew, the Jewish lexicon, is 100. Add those up and you get 144. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, light in the biblical text, I mean the Hebrew original text of Genesis, has a value of 144. Is that a coincidence? Again, what is my definition of coincidence? And what about the English word time? T-I-M-E, 4-letter word. Time also has a value of exactly 144. Yeah, T, again, 100. I, 9, M, 30, E, 5. I have a really cool Hebrew and Paleo-Hebrew translator here. It's a pocket translator. It's cool. And so I can put the numbers in, then I have the number values. It's push buttons, beep, 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 and I come up with the values. Time and light both equal 144. Time. You ever stop to think about time and its relationship to light, not merely the 144 value? What is time? Oh, Dr. Ott, come on. We all know what time is. Now, give me a definition of time. It's tough. Ask your sweetheart, your spouses, or your children. Hey, kids, tell Daddy what time is. No, Dad, it's 8:45. No, not what time it is. What time is. Define time. Well, it's what the big hand says it is, and the little hand says it is. No. That's what I'm talking about. What is time? How do we measure it? Oh, Dr. Roch, you're asking tough questions. Well, let me give you this simple answer. Ladies and gentlemen, time is a measurement of movement. And what is movement? Energy. Energy equals what? MC squared. We're talking about the relationship of light, movement of light. Once again, you don't think so? Hey, this earth we live on, and I know some of you listening have subscribed to the interesting theory of a flat earth, but no, no, no. Folks, this earth is rotating, okay? And the light from the sun, somewhere, I'll tell you what really, I've explored this flat earth thing, and here's what gets me, folks. I don't, I can call somebody in Jakarta or wherever it happens to be, somewhere on this planet at any given day. There are 12 hours of darkness and 12 hours of light. The solstices, you see, the movement kind of shoots that flat earth theory, sort of holds it. Now, I submit, because you see, the light can be measured. It's a measurement of movement. And if this planet isn't rotating, then there's no measurement of time. And the cells, it's ourself of our body, the cells are moving. You can't see them, but they are. They have an innate intelligence, and the base of your cells is the nucleus of light. All right, folks. Who was it that measured time? Well, again, it goes back to the early civilizations that brought order out of chaos. You see, they measured through sundials. They measured very intently how the planet moves. I mean, you're talking about some incredibly brilliant men and women. I submit women were part of this too. That measured and divided the seasons. They talk about the Gregorian calendar. The Native Americans and many indigenous tribes divided the time measurement into moons. They just basically said there's many moons. Well, it's basically got 13 moons that they counted, and that's pretty accurate. I mean, 13 moons of 30 days versus 12 moons of 31. It's pretty accurate, doggone accurate. Whether it's counting moons or sun movements, the bottom line is, folks, there's movement and time and aging. Let me repeat this. Time and thus aging is all measurements of movement. Think about it and you know that's absolutely true. So how do we divide time? Well, it's pretty doggone accurate, okay? 60 seconds equal a minute. 60 minutes equals an hour. 24 hours equals a full day. It's not rocket science, is it? But here's something to consider. How many seconds are in 12 hours? How many seconds are in 24 hours? Well, it's simple. Do your calculations. Do 60, right? There's 60 seconds per minute, 60 minutes per hour, times 12. Do the math. Hello. 43,200 is what my calculator comes out with. 432.00. Shazam, another coincidence. Well, when you tune your music, your cells to generate, what does 144 equal? That beautiful D. And folks, anybody that's a musician out there can attest to this. Most really good love songs that move the emotions, which is sing of love for your spouse or your children. So much, and the really good folk ballads. The folk songs are in the key of D, and it's because it resonates deeply. Even at 440 hertz, it's a cool sound to sing a love song. But when you tune it to 432 hertz, the way our very cellular structure tells us to do it, it's really, really a neat love song. It truly is. All right. I hope I haven't lost too many people here. I know we're getting. I think it's exciting. I'm having fun. I hope everybody else is too. But, well. So we got the sequence, right? The sequence. You know what? My computer just went blank. I apologize. I got to. Oh, that's why. My battery is gone. I got to get light to my battery. Hold on, folks. A little technical difficulty. I can plug it around in right here now. Oh, okay. That was quick. Good to go. The light is back on. Okay, so we went to the Fibonacci sequence, the Fibonacci spiral. 144 is the point in time in which it goes to infinity. All right. There's some pictures that I show on the slide. Look at the picture of the human fetus. See how that forms, and again the measurement of how the organs start to form, the hands, the feet, the trunk, the body. It's all following that exact fingerprint of God, the ratio of creation. You look at a fern, a plant, the snail that's on the fern, the snail shell. It's the Fibonacci spiral. The Andromeda constellation. Anything in the night sky. I love astronomy, folks. I don't like astrology. I love astronomy. Okay, astronomy is studying the night sky and seeing the beauty there. And there's an enigma of crop circles. This crop circle was found in England, and my goodness, it's a perfect Fibonacci spiral. I mean, perfect Fibonacci spiral. And again, look at the spiraling galaxies in the night sky. They just look like pinpricks of light until you put a high-powered telescope on them, and then you see the spiral. It's exciting stuff. Folks, golly, we're running short of time. The first hour's already done. I don't know about you, but I'm having fun explaining this to you. I hope it means at least as much to you as it is to me. Okay. Questions. Yeah, top of the hour break is coming in 2 minutes. So there's a question from the chat room. So you think time can be equivalent to consciousness? Oh, good question. Good question, Don. Oh, define consciousness, my friend. Aha. Awareness? I would define consciousness as being spiritually connected, to being spiritually aware. And in that sense, absolutely. But in that sense, time is not measuring motion. Okay, so be aware that, again, in the strict definition of time in physics, it's a measurement of motion. And I submit to you, in the spiritual consciousness, in the spiritual realm, Don, there is no time. Ooh, think about that as we go to break. There is no time when you're in spirit and soul. When you're in the light, ladies and gentlemen, time constraints are gone. Call it whatever you want. The ancient ones, they call it nirvana, the Hindi. Oh, and just one more thing, folks. I know there's some angst among individuals that fight against certain individuals that don't agree with you religious-wise. Let me just say one thing. I calculated the word Allah Akbar, the Muslim faith. Hey, guess what, folks? That goes into Hebrew, too. The words, the letters make a perfect 144 value. So, when we talk about light, we're talking about God himself. So please, stay tuned. We'll be right back after these messages. Don't go. This is the story behind the story. Oh, yes, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, indeed. Music is the doctor. It is. It is. Absolutely 432 hertz music is the healing. Is the healer. I gotta tell you, folks, it's not any doctor that heals. Your body does the healing. Don't get caught up in that egocentricity of the profession of medical deities. Please, you are the healer. Your body is the healer. It just needs the basic building block elements. As I said the first hour, the most essential building block is light energy frequencies. It's lacking. It's missing. It's hugely absent in most people's lives. It's not in mine. I tell you, I love these lights of Elon. I absolutely can see huge differences. And when I go on this hour, I'll explain to you exactly why more of this is true. Real quickly, another question from the chat room, same individual, Don. Yeah. How much energy do you need for stopping time? Let me repeat that. How much energy do you need for stopping time? Okay, first of all, part of what, if you really study quantum mechanics and quantum physics, you'll understand a lot of what Einstein was into with this theory of relativity and the quantum field. Folks, if time is a measurement of motion, and motion is thus energy, you see, well, how much energy do you have to need for stopping time? That question doesn't fit because, you see, time can only be observed. Now, get this. Theoretically, Einstein proved that you can do time travel. The postulate came out, there's a time and space continuum, and that's absolutely true. But let me tell you, folks, I would submit to you, and if Einstein were here to interview, I think he would agree with me that time as we know it is an Earth plane phenomenon. I would just submit that's the case to you. When you get outside of this dimension of time and space we call now, the present, the concept of time is much, much different. In fact, so Hollywood puts out movies like Back to the Future and whatever, and a flux capacitor and whatever. I got to tell you, folks, one of the most intriguing interviews I've ever done on this show, this story behind the story, was a decade or more ago, I think about in the mid '90s. Fellow was very enigmatic. I met him. There was an annual conspiracy, or it's not a conspiracy conference. It's a Area 51 conference. I did the radio show in Cedar City, Utah. We were just, golly, about 2 hours from Area 51, and there was a lot of people, and we were, that were contacting us about experiences, paranormal and otherwise, at an observation points overlooking Groom Lake, Area 51, and the infamous Skinwalker Ranch in eastern Utah. One of the most interesting interviews I've ever done is by a fellow by the name of Dr. Anderson. It's funny, those of you that know The Matrix with Neo, right? With Keanu Reeves' character Neo. Well, the whole concept of The Matrix, you see, is how an individual with certain powers can manipulate so the time slows down, so he can dodge the bullets, he can move his feet so fast he can knock the Agent Anderson out and everything. I say this is interesting because in this interview, this fellow, Dr. Anderson, claimed to be part of a covert government operation in a place called Montauk, New York. And he claimed, again, this is his claim. I don't accept or deny it. This is factual. He just made the very strong case, I must say, that they did master time travel. And yes, he explained that there's a large amount of energy needed to basically enter into a kind of it's like a portal of time space, and he could actually access past as well as see future. And part of that, of course, is tied into the so-called Philadelphia experiment. Yeah, movies have been made about the Philadelphia experiment, and individuals claiming to be crew members have come back, Al Bielek and others. Yeah, I've interviewed these people, and I tell you, it's a special brand of Society would like to just lock these guys away and say they're nutty as a fruitcake. That's a simple answer to it. But these, in my experience, these gentlemen that I've interviewed on this topic were very articulate. They were anything but stupid. Very, very knowledgeable as far as science matters and scientific equations. So, given that, it's like John Nash, and it's like interviewing John Nash. These guys are physics experts, and they can talk the talk. Now, some of the most amazing claims came out from Dr. Anderson. I don't know where he's gone. I've tried to keep in touch with him, but he's probably somewhere off in the future. I don't know. Interesting story, interesting interviews that I've done over the years, and it leads me to think a little deeper about really, if light, you see, if light is energy, if light is movement, and it's based on a specific Hertz frequency spectrum, I submit that all we really need to know at this point in our existence on this earth plane is how to maximize our potential as human beings. To maximize, I got to tell you, folks, I'm a believer that we're created in the image of a very loving God. I believe we're not here by accident. I believe there's a specific agenda that we all have to perform by our free will. We're not forced to do a thing by the God that made us. We make the right choices and we make the wrong choices. And bottom line is, He loves you anyway. Just like you would love your child if they make boo-boos and make errors. And oh my goodness, you're going to have to pay the price of those mistakes, but I love you anyway. Okay, that's what I feel with the Creator of light. Because to me, folks, when these coincidences start piling up, there's a fingerprint, like Fibonacci said in his papers. This got to be the fingerprint of the architect, the creator, the God, the intelligence that created this. Because it's not random. It's not by accident. It's absolutely statistically impossible, rationally so, to say we evolved from chaos. I'm sorry, folks. Now, go back to the PowerPoint presentation. There's a artist rendition of the DNA helix. The measurements show the exact ratios, again, how it forms the Fibonacci spiral in its ladder shape form. And how about this is a picture also of the Stradivarius violin. The Stradivarius violin with its sound chambers, its bridge, its exact ratios of the violin's body. And this is true whether it's a violin or a cello or even a bass. These ratios are just the same. It's amazing. And Stradivarius violins, folks, are best enjoyed. The music they produce is so deep and rich when tuned to 432 concert A. It's absolutely night and day, or light and darkness difference. Okay, it's amazing stuff. Now, music is the golden ratio put into motion. You don't believe it? Well, there's a picture, and this is kind of hard to see on the screen. I apologize, but you see the octave of piano keys. You have the 7 white keys. You have the 5 black sharp or flat keys, as the case may be. You have the steps in between them. Okay, you have 1, 3, 5 half step up to 6, 8, 10, 12, another half step, and the 13th step. So there's your steps or notes as they go up, right? Then below that, you have, again, the ratios of the chord structure. So you have 1 to 1, 3 to 2, or 2 to 3. You have 3 to 5, 5 to 8, and 8 to 13. Absolutely perfect Fibonacci spiral ratios. Accidental? No. So you see, why should we tune music to anything but the harmonic, where 432, it's 432 hertz. If you tune anything else to it, you lose those harmonic balances of creation. You just flat out do. And here's this, I presented this slide. The vast majority, I would say probably 99 out of 100 of the people at that convention had no idea about this. It was the first time they'd ever heard about it. Unfortunately, modern music is out of tune and causes cellular stress. See that? For centuries, the world's musical scales were primarily tuned to the scientific standard of A equals 432 hertz. It's true. Giuseppe Verdi spent decades, actually 3 decades of his career, studying the dynamics of the human vocal cords, and concluded with he called it the scientific tuning, is what Verdi called it. that the human vocal cords are designed to resonate naturally at A equals 432 hertz. It's absolutely true. So 1953, the International Standards Organization, the ISO, came up with, made it the standard to raise the pitch to 440 hertz. The rest is literally history. That's where it happened. What I can show you folks in scientific, now this is last 2 to 3 years, evidence is conclusive in my mind from studies done worldwide by multiple parties that checking the electroencephalogram readings of the brain, the harmonics you see when the brain entrains and starts to balance out in sleep cycles. Okay, sleep cycles are very much tied to this, very much so. Okay, then healing of not only mental illness begins, but also physical healing begins too. It's amazing. Again, the next slide. Again, the spectrum can only, I can just remind you, the human eye can only visibly distinguish color in the spectrum. And colors of light are reflected, and especially beautifully so, in water. I mean, I love the mountains. I do. I love to go walking in the hills, and I take a lot of pictures of incredible scenes. I love the mountains around East Yellowstone, West Yellowstone National Park. I love the Tetons. I love the Wasatch Range right here in the back of my house. Beautiful, beautiful mornings. And I was able to capture a picture of a beautiful rainbow that just happened to come up. And I love it because you can see the colors so very vibrantly. The reds dissipating into the infrared on the top, and the violets and the blues going down into ultraviolet. To me, it's just, wow, amazing. I need to share this. My doctoral dissertation, my research, my little contribution to natural healing had to do with mapping out the frequencies, the Hertz frequencies of a group of minerals that Dr. Linus Pauling, who was my primary mentor through numbers of telephone conversations, right? Dr. Pauling had determined that mineral deficiencies of 21 different elements contribute or are causative factors to virtually all chronic disease states. That's what he told me. I wrote that down many times. That's amazing. Really? Yeah. Well, why? See, he was trying to explain why this happens. He had ideas, and so he said, look, at the cellular level, everything is vibratory in nature. Einstein said the same thing. At the micro scale, everything is based on wavelengths. It's vibratory in nature. Ditto with macro scale, on the grand scale of the universe. It's all there. So theoretically, Dr. Pauling said, then if you can match out the frequencies, then that's going to be helpful. So that was my that was my dissertation. That was what I did. I utilized Dr. Crane's papers from, he was a colleague of Dr. Royal Rife. And Rife was just simply trying to build an electron microscope that bending light, refracting light, you see, to increase visibility at the cellular level and the micro scale. And he found that when you bent the light, certain frequencies affected pathogens, including cancer cells. That's the reality of Dr. Royal Rife. Now, contrary to some people's belief out there, he didn't build machines to kill virus and bacteria. He just didn't do it. He was merely into research, and other people after him tried to capitalize on that. But it's not that he was working with light, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Royal Rife was working with light and bending it through filters and refracting the light. Now, my research was done in the early 90s. And I went back to my dissertation, my papers, and I pulled the frequencies up. And lo and behold, there was 9. Every mineral in the 21 minerals that I work with in my business, my company, has specific Hertz frequencies. Yes, but these particular 9 just happen to match the Pythagorean scale. Let me share them with you. It's on the chart in the PowerPoint. Boron, 16 Hertz. That's the deepest first primary base note of the key of C, the note of C. Magnesium, probably the most vital mineral that we can ever have in our body. It's critically important. Magnesium is the light torch. Magnesium is incredibly powerful in so many ways at the cellular level. I could spend a full 3 shows teaching you about magnesium and the role it plays. But let me tell you that everything from your heart to intracellular functions, or you got to have magnesium to make it work. It's the precursor element for so many things, especially the heart. And why? Well, magnesium in its pure form, folks, is extremely flammable. It's amazing. I played around with magnesium a lot. The rods that we use to manufacture our supplement, these pure 99.99% pure magnesium rods, are very, very soft. You can take a butter knife and scrape off filings off of it. And as you scrape these filings off and just strike a little flint, a little spark, chink, onto those filings, and whoosh, you have a very intense, bright light. In fact, magnesium, the pure element of magnesium, is the main ingredient in most fireworks, ladies and gentlemen. You like 4th of July fireworks? Fireworks shows? Well, thank magnesium for that. That's what happens. Magnesium combined with the next mineral, which is sulfur. Sulfur, 48 hertz, the note of G. 36 hertz of magnesium is the perfect note of D, which just happens to be 12 times 3 once again. And 36 times 12, that special number 12, there's 432. Is that just coincidence once again? Potassium, critically important element for regulating your intracellular fluid and creating the adenosine triphosphate, the ATP energy cell. Again, energy is light in motion, you see. That's what it is. Potassium, 54 hertz, calcium, 64. Again, upper note of C. Vanadium, 72 hertz. Iron in our blood, the hemoglobin is iron. Iron carries oxygen throughout all the body. 81 hertz. Silver, hey, what a wonderful thing that silver is. 162 hertz. The note of E upper. It's exactly the second octave, by the way, of iron. Hertz. And finally, I have a product called Ultimadium. As far as I know, I'm the only individual that has been able to balance iridium. And iridium is my goodness, that iridium molecule, that's a tricky little slippery sucker, I'll tell you. I'm playing with iridium in its pure form as we go down, trying to break it down so that it'll attach through electroporation to the hydrogen and water, oxygen molecules in water. That's a slippery little bugger, because you know why? You can't use light to do it as well. You can't use energy forms to do it like we normally can with other minerals. Shazam! Iridium under the microscope is way cool. We put those slivers of iridium under there, and oh my goodness, it's like looking at the rainbow. Some of those kaleidoscopes you used to look at through as a kid. You turn the little dial and all these wonderful colors of the rainbow show up. That's kind of what it's like. Iridium under the microscope is like looking under a kaleidoscope. You see all the rainbow colors. That's why it's called iridium. It's called from the word iridescent. It refracts light. It's an amazing element. And it happens to be 288 hertz, which is 144 again times 2, the second octave, the note, the pure note of D is iridium. Oh, folks, can you see how it's exciting, how it meshes? Maybe it's just me, but you see the bottom line is our bodies are composed of light at the cellular level. They're composed of what else? Water, absolutely. And what else? Minerals. That's it. We're just like kind of like mud with faces. And so why make it so complicated? This is a conversation with the great Linus Pauling. And folks, I never met the man. I wish I had taken the time to go and meet with him. He invited me many times. I just couldn't break away from my family and responsibilities. I wish I had. Genius man as far as I'm concerned, and loving, kind, absolutely beautiful human being. Passed away much too early as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, two-time Nobel Prize winner. This guy had it down. And he shared a lot of his findings with me. And we all need mentors. We all need people who have gone before us that are willing to help us along the path. And I give so much credit to everything that I've done in this field to Dr. Linus Pauling and others, not just him. I have to say that and give homage to him. I value our discussions that we had years and years ago. All right, so we have these minerals, water-soluble minerals that are also, and they help the light, because we're talking about the light spectrum here. When these minerals are involved and they do their balancing work. See, dis-ease is a term that literally means out of harmony or imbalance. If you have light energy that can balance, you have to have minerals that'll help to be the building blocks of enzymes and other hormone substances. That's where light works with minerals to produce biological compounds in the body that are essential. In fact, the term vitamin, according to Dr. Pauling, he said, "You realize where vitamin came from, the term?" "No, I had no idea." I responded. He said, "Vitamin is an acronym. It's short for vital mineral." "Really?" I see. He said, "Yeah, because you see the cells and the different organs of the body, if you have enough prime elements of minerals, it's indeed a fact that the cells can produce vitamins, and they do so all the time through what he called biological transmutations. But without minerals, you cannot produce the vitamin structures, you see. So, oh, well, let's go out and get our one-a-day vitamins that are synthetically produced. How are they produced, folks? Let me give you a secret. They're produced by means of petrochemical manipulation. Okay, it's a petrochemical benzene manipulation of the benzene molecules, what it is. And sure, they form chemical structures of the vitamin compounds, but it's based on petrochemicals, folks. It's not the pure element. It's vitamins can be helpful at certain times, but why not get the body the base elements it needs to build those vitamins and hormones and enzymes? See, that's where it comes into play. But you need the lights to bring that around too. Now, magnesium is really a key element, as is the lights. And we're talking about literally thousands of very conclusive studies. And these are studies done all over the world, folks. Magnesium works in conjunction with the lights, red, blue, and infrared, in studies shown, that it stimulates what's called the endothelium, the inner lining of the blood vessels, to produce a substance that you may not have heard of called nitric oxide. It's called NO for short, nitric oxide. Wow, what is nitric oxide? Well, again, I need a couple hours to teach you all of the good things that nitric oxide does. It is it's absolutely vital in so many areas of the body. Nitric oxide is dependent also on magnesium. Magnesium reacts in the endothelium of the blood vessels, and the nitric oxide is produced. It's absolutely synergistic. Now, isn't it interesting, folks, that processed sugar absolutely robs magnesium from the cells? It neutralizes and robs the body and then robs the cells of the ultimate important magnesium ion. So this is why I'm telling you why you should kind of limit your sugar intake, why sugar is a toxic poison. You've all probably heard, too much sugar is not good for you, but why? Primarily because research has shown that it robs magnesium from your body. A little bit of sugar might be okay once in a while, but please, folks, we as a society are just sugar addicts. I mean, and I'm talking high fructose corn syrup here too, folks. It's all related. Nitric oxide is amazing. Now, one of the things that I don't have on the slides, but I shared this at the convention. Two important studies that again, 2 weeks ago on the show, I shared with you the incredible story. At least to me, it's very incredible. The story of the macrophage, the glycoprotein macrophage activating factor, GCMAF, and Nagalese, right? And I shared with you the book written by Dr. Smith. I hope you've all that you listen to that show have downloaded and read that book. It's absolutely well done. Absolutely critical information. But here's the key. The studies that I shared with the audience at the convention, to me, are groundbreaking because you see, nitric oxide also stimulates the macrophage. It's not just GCMAF that makes your macrophage go crazy. It's nitric oxide. Now, how does nitric oxide do it? Well, it's all there in this study. And what forms nitric oxide to activate your macrophage? Lights, magnesium, other minerals also contribute, but primarily magnesium. Folks, I've got a lot of emails. I have, and I can't answer all of them. I wish I had time. I don't have. I need to clone myself to answer hundreds of emails a day. I just wish I had more time. But folks, I appreciate you're asking me, where can we get macrophage activating factor? I tried to find it. Especially in the United States, it seems to be really clamped down. There are individuals saying that you can take certain probiotic yogurts or whatever and get MAF, GCMAF formed. The research doesn't justify that, folks. I wish it did, but I can't see it. What I can tell you is Elon lights, I know this for a fact, because of their frequencies and the studies done on this particular, it's a superior light, absolutely. The magnesium, the studies are conclusive that it does activate your nitric oxide, and the study shows nitric oxide then can awaken the macrophage. Wow. I mean, that alone is a great breakthrough. And folks, just a preview of coming attractions. I've put out my network of technicians, some very brilliant. It may have to go out of the United States, but I'm here to tell you that it may be out of Russia, it may be out of labs in Indonesia, but let me tell you, it may be India. But I have no problem letting the cat out of the bag, and what the intent is. I envision a Nagalese testing apparatus that's as non-invasive. In fact, it runs off the same principles as glucose blood sugar testing for a diabetic. A simple little prick of the thumb, a little smearing of blood on a strip, And instead of looking for glucose sugar, it looks for glucose factors, which are related to the Naegeli structure. And it's a simple thing. You can measure the Naegeli's activity and do it easy, non-invasive, and in seconds. And then we can see what's really happening as far as effectiveness of light therapies. We'll hopefully be able to get a reliable source of GCMAF available that's certified. And I got to tell you, yeah, scientists have been killed over this information. I don't give a rip. Life is too short. Life is too short. If you can't make a difference, there should never be any children suffering in St. Jude's Children's Hospital, suffering from cancer and dying. Oh, that's just wrong. You know, if you live in fear and you say, well, what the trillion-dollar cancer industry will kill me if I don't give a rip. They better jump on board because this is flat out evil to keep it from people. All right, and I'm on the offensive. I don't care. I had a colleague, okay, a colleague just over the border in Idaho for me was just Tuesday morning was raided by a SWAT team. His herb lab was confiscated. Was probably being destroyed as we speak. They say it was, oh my goodness, the newspaper said it was a methamphetamine laboratory. Bull. How do you don't have to have a nutritional university lab to do extracts of herbals. You can do it yourself, but you see, you take the risk of being called a methamphetamine producer. That's the cover. It's bull. And see, they take pictures and they make a story that he's a drug dealer. Folks, it can happen to me or anybody else anytime. And this guy just happened to be I won't give you his name. Its attorney asked me, I wanted to have him on the show tonight, but his attorney said no. I tell you, this guy, I known him for years. He's a good man. And like most people that are awake and fully alert, he didn't want to keep his money in the bank, and he had lots of money. I mean, he had quite a bit of funds. So rather than keep his money in Federal Reserve notes, he took the bull by the horns and put everything in gold and silver. Yeah, large amounts. He didn't put it in the bank. He kept it in a safe spot, hidden on his property. And this SWAT team knew exactly where it was. And like all drug busts, right, you can confiscate assets, and it's all been confiscated. Now he's having to prove his innocence. Even if it's just, it's an uphill fight for this guy. And everything he's worked his whole life for in the form of his wealth, his equities in the form of gold and silver is gone. It's that real. I had talked to him about the subject and trying to, using his networks to do what I'm talking about here. Is it a coincidence that maybe he was hitting too close to home and had a SWAT team called out? I don't know. Folks, it is what it is. I'm very public. I'm telling you that it may come. I hope it doesn't, but sometimes you never know how long this show can continue. This information can continue. And please don't think I'm paranoid. I don't think I am. I've seen it. I've lived it. Dr. Gonzalez was not suicidal and he was not sickly. He was doing great inroads into natural reversals of this dread disease. And it shouldn't be a dread disease. It's your own body. It's your own cells, you see, just out of balance, out of light. All right, I want to finish up with a couple more slides and then we'll call it a night, folks. And again, just thank you for listening. I know it's not an easy subject to grasp in time, and I hope you'll go back in the archives and tell your friends and neighbors and people that you do love to listen to this show, because that's the only way we can be protected. If this goes viral and we're talking about even 1 million people listening to this, we may make a difference. We all need to be aware of this. I want to talk about the human brainwaves. Now, again, I'm not answering the questions in the chat room because they're become redundant. All right, I just want to say that. Come on, folks. I've answered the question. Don't start doing that. I'm not going there. Okay. Human brain waves are based on Hertz frequency too. You may not realize that, but it's the truth. Electroencephalograms measure them, and the little needle goes up and down, and yes, it shows wave activity. Brain wave, our thoughts are energy. Our thoughts are energy. Folks, as you think, so shall you be. As a man thinketh, so is he, as the old saying goes. It's absolutely true. We got to raise our thought frequencies, ladies and gentlemen, if we hope to solve the problem this nation is facing. You see, Einstein, again, I've read his papers, read his books. He's a great man. One of his quotes I like to give is, he says, we cannot solve problems on the same level of thinking that created the problem in the first place. And that's just, common sense. We keep falling into the trap that we're going to send some white knight in shining armor to the White House and fix the problems. Get a life, folks. It's like telling a wino that he's going to have to clean himself up without help. I mean, you got to raise the level of thinking. You got to raise the level of people. And I'm sorry, Donald Trump has some good. I mean, come on, yeah, he has some good sound bites of truth, but that's all it is. The establishment won't let him gain any traction. They won't. And it doesn't matter if the majority of the people think he's right and will vote for him, it's manipulated. It's not going to be reality because they manipulate. And I'm talking about this group of subhuman excrement that controls us. That's just the reality, folks. Break through the 9 veils that I wrote about, and you'll see what I'm talking about. 9 veils, and that number 9 again. So brainwaves have also this Hertz frequency. Let me share them with you. When you go to sleep at night, first of all, as you're listening to the show, hopefully you're staying awake and you're actively alert awake. If you're thinking and calculating and you're not kind of getting drowsy, your brain is putting out waves of a measurement of 12 hertz, 12 cycles per second, 12 as it moves, 12. When you're kind of starting to get a little drowsy, you're starting to go down into what's called alpha, 9 hertz frequency. The numbers. If I find anything unusual about these numbers, well, hello, they're all multiples of 3, just like we showed in the Pythagorean scale. But as you get drowsy and try to go to sleep, there's a level in which you pass that's called the theta. You go from that into deep, rapid eye movement or REM sleep. That is 3 hertz. And let me tell you something, folks. I've got books and books on this on my personal library shelves about sleep cycles, because you see, part of what I study in Hertz frequency of minerals has so very much to do with brainwave cycles. You ask anybody that's competent in healing, and he or she will tell you that before a chronic disease state is manifest in an adult human body, there's typically a period of time where there is sleep cycles disrupted. There is no sleep happening. People are having insomnia, having trouble falling and staying asleep. Why? At 3 hertz, is when everybody gets in a deep REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep. That's when you have lucid dreaming. That's when you're in dream world. You're in dreamland at 3 hertz. And studies have conclusively proven that only at 3 hertz, deep REM sleep do the stem cells located in your bone marrow stem cells are then released to go throughout the body and heal and balance. Stem cells are critically important. You've got to get into 3 hertz deep REM sleep. Now, why am I talking about this? Well, it's about the lights once again, folks. Light frequencies will help you balance those brain waves. It's the same Pythagorean skein. All right. Now you want to have a leg up on your competition. Imagine being able to think deeply, to think and to see complex equations, to see the what actions can happen. Imagine you can see the end result of paths that you have. Well, this is where you enter the realm of what's called gamma threshold. Studies have seen some of the creative geniuses of this world, the great minds, the great thinkers, the great philosophers that have been studied. Their brain waves are operating not at the mere 12 hertz beta. No, they're higher. They're 9 times 3. They're at 27. And the threshold of high gamma, well, there's that magnesium frequency of 36 hertz. Light exploding in the brain. Literally bright ideas, creative genius. That's what is equivalent to 36 hertz gamma. Don't believe it, folks? Do your own research. Just Google gamma brainwaves and look at all the plethora, the many studies on gamma. Well, there's ways to entrain your brain to not only easier hit gamma, but also to be relaxed and go deeply into delta, deep REM 3 hertz sleep. And again, it sounds like a broken record, but it has to do with light and music and mineral therapy. When you're balanced out, both and the brain waves start to relax, they'll go into that 3 hertz deep REM sleep. That's one of the things I noticed personally when I started introducing these Elon lights into my daily routine. Oh, the sleep cycles, the deep REM sleep was so greatly enhanced, and then my ability to even, to follow and do puzzles and mathematical equations became much more enhanced. Now, I have not had my personal brainwaves measured. I can't say if I'm in gamma, but I believe I am. I really do. One of the things that makes the Elon lights superior, and believe me, I've invested in other light therapies based on my Uncle John Ott's earlier research. I know it's incredibly important. He proved it. Believe me, he proved it. So I bought other light sets, and many of them not very inexpensive, really, and they're marginally effective in some areas. But let me tell you what makes Elon's system highly superior. They have the ability to program the lights to pulse at hertz frequencies. That is huge because it combines whatever frequency you want to put into it so the lights will pulse at the deeply cellular level, infusing that frequency into the cell itself. So here we are with many Elon light therapists. We're talking massage therapists, herbalists, acupuncturists, chiropractors. These are the type of people that were there at the convention. Here's my sweep of frequencies, and I explained each one why. I won't bore you with those. But I'm telling you, I've used these in my personal machine, and it is flat out amazing what I've seen happen with it. Exciting stuff to me. Now, I also show the slide, and I explain to them basically the information on the macrophage, what macrophage does to cancer cells, and why, again, how to activate them. Now, get this, folks. If you're into frequencies, if you have a way to generate hertz frequencies yourself through whatever device that you may be listening or using or know about, my dissertation, my calculations came up with a specific way again, I validated this with many substances, going into an oscilloscope and light measurements to prove this theory. You give me, folks, the atomic weight of any substance, and I can calculate the Hertz frequency that it resonates to. So GCMAF, I pulled the studies on GCMAF and found its molecular weight, and so I did the calculation. Guess what? GCMAF has a Hertz frequency of 77 Hertz. What's a wonderful number? 11 times 7. 77 Hertz frequency. It just happens to match my mineral called chromium. Chromium mineral operates at 77. Could chromium as a mineral work the same way as a GCMAF? It's theory. I don't know yet. I think it could. I think it probably can. All right? But with these lights pulsing, we already know by studies that lights activate the GCMAF factors. They activate the macrophage like GCMAF does. And GCMAF only works because of its frequency to begin with. That's how everything in nature works. Whether it's a biochemical drug through a pharmaceutical company or pure minerals, it all is based on a frequency at the cellular level. End of story. Now, take also Nagalase's atomic weight, which is there in the Merck indexes, and they're pretty doggone accurate. They are studied by scientists. I can take the weight and calculate it out, and basically it's a ratio of the square root of 2, believe it or not. You can calculate the debilitating frequency or the neutralizing factor. Suppose you can neutralize Nagalase. Nagalase, you remember my discussion 2 weeks ago? That's a substance put out by cancer cells and by viruses of all kinds. Nagalase, you see, puts the macrophage killer cells to sleep. Now, so why don't we put the Nagalase to sleep? Well, theoretically now. Again, this is theory. I need studies to prove this. But theoretically, Nagalase can be neutralized with a Hertz frequency of 337. Anybody out there want to challenge, want to do a study with me? I'd love to have it done. Okay, so that's theory. Now I finish with some of the abstracts and summaries of studies. Light and Music of Healing Energies, the study in August 7, 2013. The Academy of Finland. So much has been going on in this great nation of Finland. Oh, golly. This is your brain on Vivaldi versus the Beatles. Vivaldi at 432 Hertz versus Beatles at 440. Listening to music activates large networks in the brain, but different kinds of music are processed differently. What they're really saying is different frequencies of music. Yeah. Using a combination of brain imaging and computer modeling, they found areas in the auditory, motor, and limbic regions to be activated during free listening to music. And folks, 440 Hertz, they showed, causes and this is why I'm not making this up, folks, the reptilian portion of your brain. That's a real part of your brain. Look it up. Okay, it's called reptilian part of the brain. The reptilian brain is where all of your base emotions of anger and hate and jealousy are created. That 440 hertz music activates that reptilian part of the brain. Do you think that's by accident that the ISO out of the United Nations made it happen? How about this? December 6, 2011. Again, the Academy of Finland. Listening to music lights up the whole brain. Yeah. It makes a difference in brain waves, no doubt about it. It also relieves anxiety, depression. This RCN Publishing Company. Incredible. You want being depressed and anxious and older people? Oh, 432 music. Oh my goodness. Providing well-being. And on it goes. On and on. It truly is amazing. Folks, we're running out of time. Let me just tell you, and again, thanks, Sean, for giving me these alerts. I would love to see everybody listening to this show tonight get an Elon light machine. I'm telling you, I'll be there to help you. I'll show you how to program it. I'll show you how to use it. And I promise you that your health will be so positively impacted in so many ways, so positively so. If you're interested in learning how to get one, we'll even let you finance it for a year, up to 1 year on approved credit with zero interest. We're doing that for you. How about that? Zero interest. Again, folks, these machines are not cheap. They're not something you can go buy at a nickel, five and dime store. They're approved devices. The manufacturing facility is approved to make these by the FDA. The device itself is not an approved therapy by the FDA. Probably never will be. But let me tell you, these are lifetime machines. They'll last a lifetime, and they're phenomenal because, again, you can put frequencies of sound into the light itself, and that makes all the difference in the effectiveness and the worth of this therapy. Study after study after study. To my count, over 60,000 studies on this topic, and it's incredible. It's absolutely important. Call me. I'm gonna give you my telephone number at my office. It's area code 801-392-1635. 801-392-1635. I promise you, folks. Just call and say, you'd like to talk to me about it. Write the number down. I'll be in the office on Monday morning. I'd love to talk to you personally about the lights. I may not get right back to you. I might have a dozen or so people, hopefully. But listen, I'll share with you how you can get this technology free. It's a simple way to do it. It's really easy. Won't cost you a thing. And you know what? I promise I will do this. I will donate 5%, 5%, folks, of any sales on this show. If you mention this Freedom Slips Network and Revolution Radio, I'll donate 5% back to the station. Okay? I'll make it happen for you guys, folks. That's where it's at. Please give me a call. You have a great weekend, folks. Thanks for listening. It's been a pleasure sharing this with you. A lot more to come, believe you me. It's a lot more information, but thanks for listening. You have a great evening and a great weekend. Take care.